Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Victor Hathcote. I'm sitting in for Coach while he's off enjoying his retirement. We got a big show planned for you, but first let's do our weather. It's brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. Today is October the 3rd, and the high today is going to be 85, the low tonight 70, and our water temperature is at 80 degrees. Our river readings, courtesy of Sandhill Seafood, Apalachicola at Bluntstown is 4.2 and falling, Choctawhatchee at Caryville 4.7 and steady or slightly falling. Our tide charts are brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. High tide is going to be a little after 10 o'clock this morning and low tide around 5. We've got a small tide today, but we're going to have neap tides later on, so earlier is better this week. Our marine forecast is east at 13 to 18, choppy with a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms. It's going to be a little frisky out there today. Let's take a break and we'll come back and meet my co-host. And we're back. This morning I'm joined by my co-host and fishing buddy, a dear personal friend of mine, Terry Kendall.
Hey.
Morning, Terry. How you doing?
Welcome to be here. Good.
All right, just take this chance to tell everybody who you are and a little about yourself and how we got to be fishing buddies.
Well, Terry Kendall, I came here from Denver about 15 years ago, and like anybody else moving here from a landlocked location, the first thing I did was buy a boat and had no clue what I was doing with it. So hooked up with you not too long after at church, and then we started not doing well together, which was very comforting, if you will.
Yeah, a lot of catfish.
A lot of catfish. Anyway, we ended up figuring it out with some help from some local people, and understood kind of what the water does and what the weather does and what the fish do at certain times and in certain conditions. And we actually got to the point where we were catching fish every day.
Of course, I was pretty much a natural, right?
Well, you know, your shaky hands and your powerful arms. He definitely earned the nickname Lip Ripper when he was setting his hooks. So
I can be enthusiastic.
It took many years to teach him how to soften his hands a little bit. So I think once he did that, then every now and then he'd actually outfish me.
Not very often though. But I was a really good knot tire.
Well, no. He was good at getting his knots tied, but somebody else typically was tying those knots. You're doing better now. You tie all your own knots. You still haven't learned that new FG knot.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
Well, you know, don't watch the YouTube videos. they don't know. The fastest way is not the fastest way. I got a way that does it that makes that knot fast and strong.
Well, I certainly tested his patience. I tested mine for that matter. I learned what a wind knot was the hard way, and I know I tested Terry. I can be a little cheap sometimes, and so some of the tackle I would buy and everything, I think he probably sprained an eye. He was rolling it so hard when he'd see me dragging up some of the stuff I would bring.
Well, you know, when you casted it sounded like a freight train leaving the station. So it wasn't the smoothest equipment. It was, you know, probably top end at the $20 range.
Well, so, you know, I bought the very best stuff that Walmart had.
Anyway, he's improved.
No offense to Walmart. I love
he improved his game. He now is at the top end of the Walmart brand. So you're doing well.
Well, very good. All right, let's take a break and we'll be back. This morning, thought we'd talk about Choctawhatchee Bay. We're over on the west edge of the Panhandle Outdoors viewing area, and we thought maybe some people might not know about what we've got going on over there at Choctaw, so we're going to look at a few things over there. Terry, if you want to start us out here. We'll start us out we're at the East Pass, which is the west side of Destin, the city of Destin right there. And if you can zoom in there a little bit, you can find the jetties there, the east and west jetties. Typical for jetties, a lot of fish hang out there, especially on the outgoing tide to catch the bait flushing out of the bay. Very accessible by boat, of course, but if you're in good shape and you don't mind living dangerous, you can try the hike out the West Jetty. And there's good fishing out there, but don't be shocked if you wind up bleeding, because it's a hike. It's a young man's game. A lot of reds hang out there, the occasional red snapper, the occasional grouper down there up against the jetty.
Spanish Max.
Spanish Max always. That's right. Where the charter boat captains come to get their bait. It's just right outside the pass there. There'll be acres of bait out all along through there, and you'll see everybody out there with their sabikis and everything. If we go on in the bay a little bit, that light area you see there, that's commonly called Crab Island. The water's about 3 foot deep, and all the time in the summer and most weekends it's covered up with boats, pontoon boats, bay boats, fishing boats, and everybody just gets there with their kids and their dogs and plays the music, and there's big inflatable slides there, and they sell food and drinks and whatever you could want while you're out there on the bay. It's a really good time. It's not very good for the fishing, of course, but it is a great recreational area. The best part about that is further north from there is a very large grass flats. Very good trout fishing, very good red fishing in there. Acres and acres of grass flats, as long as you don't get ran over by a boat coming in. The downside of that area, you're very possibly going to have a bull shark or two circling your boat, because they come in there, they know where the fish are just like everybody else. All right, and north of that area, going up north of there.
Just one more comment here.
Yeah.
You know, this time of the year, the reds are starting to come in. The big reds are starting to come in up into the bay to spawn, and then you got the reverse. You got the flounders starting to move out. The flounders start moving out. You can catch them along in here and along in here, and then they'll sit out here on this tongue for a while before they move out to the wrecks.
Okay, and north of there, on the north side of the bay, you see the various inlets that you have there that dump into the bay. The typical rules apply here. Points are always good. Inlets outside the mouth of the inlet on the falling tide's always good. Trout, redfish, as you can see, a lot of grass flats up along that north edge, and hundreds literally of places to fish. Very good to exploit those grass flats whenever you have the opportunity. All the way up there you see Rocky Bayou on the upper right there. A lot of fish up in there, a lot of development, but also that means a lot of docks, so that's always good too.
So we'll come up here and start over here, kind of fish for trout, hang out right here in this little inlet there, and then run over here to these flats and kind of run down these flats and try to find fish along. There's a nice little drop off right here. So the fish will hang off this drop off, then come up on the warmer water, warmer times, and fish up here in these shallow areas.
Okay, let's move on to the east there. And we have two main bridges in Choctawhatchee Bay that cross the bay. Of course, the Destin Bridge goes across at the pass there. But we have the Mid-Bay Bridge and the 331 Bridge. And of course, this typical thing for bridges, the deep water, the big drum, the black drum, and the red drum all like to hang out there. Wintertime, of course, the sheep's head stage up on that. Very easy to get up there and find some sheep's head. A lot of people go and like to deep water drop for the reds in through there.
Yeah, during the warmer water, your reds and trouts will come up, and you can see all these little grass knolls and hills and little dips and valleys, and they'll be sitting up in there. So if you can find them, you know, that's where you'll catch them.
Yeah.
In the summertime, they're very spread out, but the wintertime, you can find groups of them that are kind of hiding out. If you can find those, your fishing can be really good.
Another thing about the inlets on the north side, a lot of times in the hot summer, that water coming down from the north there will be a little cooler. And of course it's less salty, so a lot of times a lot of the bay will be on the north side. with the bait, the big jacks and the bull reds will also be up there. So a lot of times you can go up there and just sight fish for them, watch for birds, watch for blow-ups on the surface there, run over there as fast as you can and throw a topwater in the middle of it and hang on for dear life.
Yeah, it's just run and gun. They'll be up for 5 minutes maybe, hitting that bait on top of the water. But you run over there, you throw just about anything out there, and you're bound to hit a big jack crevalle or a big redfish, big bull red that's sitting underneath them. And then this water's this little channel, a little deeper channel here. So sometimes we think that the fish hold out in here, then come up on these shallow banks, in the later afternoon.
Okay.
Lots of fun with those big jack crevalles and big bull reds.
And there's home for us. Terry lives very
somewhere around here.
Nothing specific, but somewhere in that general area. So we know Hogtown Bayou better than we know the rest of the bay. And Hogtown's always had a great reputation for being the place in the wintertime where the redfish like to stack up, they say. And we've found that to be true some of the time. As with all fishing advice, none of it works all the time. But it is a very good place. A lot of good grass flats around there. A lot of points and inlets and little cuts that, as with fishing, any kind of a different feature is something that the fish look for.
Yeah, they'll stack up here in about 20 feet of water. You watch your bottom machine, and you'll see that bait line just kind of jump up, and you'll see a little dot right there, meaning there's a pretty good sized fish there. So we'll do some trolling at about 4 knots, in certain times of the years, and just run that plug through that bait, and typically get hooked up. And then, of course, all the shallow waters, ton of grass and ton of shallow water opportunities here as the day moves on and it gets warmer.
Okay, let's go ahead and move over to the 331 bridge, and we can show the new park over there. If you'll zoom in there on the bottom. See the new Thomas Pilcher Park, and I have to commend Walton County. That is a great park. That is a great addition to the county right there. There's if you zoomed in even closer, you could see there's a long pier, fishing pier that goes out through there, all the way out there. It's just, it gets fished a lot, it gets used a lot, and I think that's the best thing you can say about something that the county does for you, is that people use it a lot.
Yeah, this doesn't show it complete, but they got 3 really nice ramps. They got some gazebos there, and picnic tables, and ample parking.
Yeah, lots of parking.
Just a great place to
lots of boat trailer parking.
And go there, and it gets you to gets you to some different parts of the bay that you may not be used to fishing. Yeah. Particularly around this bridge, or even farther east. Particularly in the wintertime, as the fish start moving up into the rivers. It's a good location to get up into some of these rivers.
Yeah. Black Creek
River and Black Creek River.
Goes up through there. Didn't really get cold last year, so we never did find that they really moved up there all that much. And the trout didn't seem to ever get cold really last year. We didn't really have that extended cold period that lasted for a degree of time. But typically, that is a good place to run up in there. And in the cold weather, if it's not duck season, and every time you round the bend and get set up, the guy stands up and looks at you, and you say, "Excuse me, I'm going this way." But otherwise, it's a good place in the wintertime to go and see if you can find that trout hanging around.
Yeah, it's strange how it changes from year to year, isn't it? I mean, it seems like last year we were catching a lot of trout and not much redfish, and then this year we were catching a ton of redfish and not much trout.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of that cycle. I don't know what it is.
Okay. All right. You can zoom in on the north side of the 331 bridge also. One thing we didn't talk about is there are grass flats along the 331 bridge there. And a lot of people were real upset when they came in and did the new bridge, and they kept you from parking along the edge of 331. And I understand that, but it was very dangerous. And now that it's 4-lane, it's extremely dangerous to be off the edge of the road there. But now with the park, you can park there, you can walk and fish both sides of the bridge, or both sides of the bridge, all along up and down through there. So every place you used to could fish, you still can fish. And now it's a lot safer to get on the road and off the road. So I just can't say enough good things about that park. I think they really did a really terrific job with that. All right, we're going to take our break and we'll be back in a minute. Good morning, and we're back. And Terry, we've been very fortunate. We've been very blessed to be able to fish several different places. We're just going to take a minute this morning to talk about some of the places we've enjoyed fishing.
Sure, we got some pictures here. This is me. This was probably, what, a month?
It was July 13th because it was David's birthday.
July 13th. This is where we kind of headed from my house directly north to the north side of the bay, and we sat there with our binoculars just looking for splash ups. So we'd find a big splash up and we'd run and gun and hit that splash up and get into fish. Just throw just about anything out there. Just as long as you had a pretty stout leader on it, obviously, with these teethy fish. But here's a nice little Jack Crevalle that we had caught on that trip, and I think we got one Victor as well.
That's me there, incognito, of course.
Another Jack Crevalle. We caught kind of the same style. That might even been the same spot. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But
same trip anyway.
I mean, you could be sitting out there for a half hour, just looking and looking and looking, and all of a sudden you'll see a splash, out there a ways, and just run and gun and get there, and they may be going down, but you may be able to get them back up to they don't stay up very long. No, you got to be there quickly as they're pushing that bait up to the top of the surface. This one, I don't know what this is, what kind of fish this is.
This was last Saturday, 3 days ago. Was up at my sister lives up in North Alabama. We go up there our family's still up there, and my sister lives out on a farm, and she said her neighbor had this farm pond, and he said, I wish somebody would go over there and catch some of the fish out of that. There's some big ones in there, and they're eating up all the little fish. And I was like, I got you. So I went over there. I wasn't able to catch one of the big ones, but I was able to catch that bass, and it was fun. I don't do a lot of bass fishing, but it was a great experience and a great way to spend a morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like always.
Absolutely. I mean, I bassed fish back when I lived in San Diego 25 years ago and haven't done it since. So you're going to have to take me up there now that you're a bass expert.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, with your
pond fishing's good too because
your $15 Walmart bass rod. I'll do it. All right. This one's my buddy Mark Hofflington. This was just a week or so ago. The tuna are starting to run in close. The blackfin tuna are starting to run in close, and
that's good.
And so you go out there and same kind of thing. You look for a couple ways to fish for them. You look for splash ups and throw some bait out there, and that's what he did. He said it was a lousy bait day. He got like 3 baits the whole day. Got out there, saw that, took his liveliest bait, tossed it out there, and got this blackfin tuna. You can see the buildings back behind, so he wasn't that far offshore. So that's just a great fight, great fish. He hasn't invited me over to dinner yet, but we'll see if we can work on that. So my buddy Mark from originally a guy down in Miami. I don't know what those are.
Oh, that's a recent trip there, here in Choctawhatchee Bay.
Yeah, real close to my house there, I think.
Yep, outside.
I'm fortunate. I can get in my boat, and I'm within a mile of grass flats and places where I can fish, and just that beautiful gold redfish that you find in the back part of our bay because the water's so brackish. Actually, that's on Mark's boat as well. You can tell by his poling platform there. I've got a matrix shad in his mouth, a matrix shad hat. That's one of my go-to lures. If you're interested in that, they're a fine lure made out of Slidell, Louisiana.
One of my finer moments.
One of his finer, bigger moments.
This is what I usually do in wintertime.
This is my brother-in-law from Oregon. Him and my sister came down to visit us, and it was kind of a rainy rainy afternoon, October, rainy afternoon. Again, it's perfect time. That's when these big redfish are moving in, and you can see them on the bottom. That's exactly what we were doing. Had the bottom finder on and could see this redfish just sitting under a little mountain of bait. So we put a 18-foot diving plug on there and ran it through there, and his first redfish, and not a bad redfish to be your first redfish.
It's funny how it works out. I was always the guy that's like, well, there's nothing out there that could possess me to go out in the rain and try to catch some fish or something. I was right out there. It's just weird how it all works out, because I had no intentions of going anywhere but right out in amongst all those redfish.
That's just me, same trip. We caught quite a few big redfish just doing that, and we were probably 500 yards from my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough life you've got.
It was.
Was that same trip?
There's him again.
My Agarn.
It is his iPad, so we got more pictures.
Yeah, it's my iPad, so it's a little Victor heavy.
There's
You can tell what kind of a day it was.
It was
That's what it
raining.
was most of the day, like that.
I get excited when I catch those big redfish.
If you don't get excited catching one of those, it's just not going to happen for you.
I thought I had one of my sister.
Oh, there's me. Little trout.
Yeah.
Well, we've been really fortunate. We live in a beautiful area. We get to fish a fantastic fishery. I'm not going to start comparing it to East Bay or West Bay or any of those. It's just great. It's our home bay, and we love to fish it. And we just hope y'all got to see a little glimpse of what we have going on. Terry, do you want to give any shout outs or hellos?
Yeah, let me shout out to my wife Vicki, my 3 grandkids Kayla, Mila, and Carolyn, and of course my daughter Crystal, and my buddy Mark who let us show that wonderful black tuna that he caught, and my buddy Chaz Champagne for the Matrix Shad lures that he sends us down here. It's a great bait. So yeah, thank you.
We had a great time this morning. We hope we don't get Coach in any trouble for anything we said or may not have said. Have a great day. Get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. Tight lines, y'all.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.